So, Ryan, next I want to talk about quarterback.
Let's do
So,
it.
Austin Novosad. So, obviously, there's been some things that have happened. We're going to update people on that. We're not going to talk a lot about Austin as a player. We've already done that. But there's some potential moving parts here that we wanted to get people caught up on.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously he was on Irish Players Club yesterday, and he mentioned something about visiting it at some point. So I reached out to someone because I'd reached out to Austin a couple of times, and it's just kind of been a work in progress to get up to Notre Dame. Like figuring out scheduling and getting up because it's a shorter window, obviously, for trying to get up to Notre Dame because he still wants to make a decision before summer ends. Like he wants to make it right.
Mhm.
So reached out to someone close to him. Tentatively, they are trying for the last week of July. So near the barbecue date, which is the 26th. So right around that date, they are trying to make it work. It is not something that is cemented, but it is something that is likely to
Yeah.
happen. So we do not have the official dates. We do not know how long he's going to stay. We don't have any of that information, but they are shooting for that last week in July. It looks like that is most likely going to be the window that they're going to be
Right.
able to visit Notre Dame.
And I think right now it's safe to say that the question is more of when in that window he visits. It's not so much if he's going to visit. I don't think that's as much of a question right now, unless things change between now and then. It's more of a when. It's not definitely going to be on the day of the barbecue. And honestly, I think it's probably smarter to not have it be on the day of the barbecue. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a kid you're trying to land. This is a
sure.
quarterback, and you got one shot at this because he has said he wants to make his decision before the fall. He has been very clear. I don't have the relationship with the Notre Dame staff that I have with others because they just got involved later.
Sure.
That's just the way that it is. So I don't know if I want him splitting time with all the other studs that are going to be on campus and some of the kids that you like in the 2024 class. I think it'd be best if you can to have him on a different date where you can sit him down and Tommy Rees can spend all day with him if he wants to spend all day with Coach Rees. He can sit down and do all these things without having to worry about his schedule around other players. So I actually think it would be smart for Notre Dame to not bring him in on that date if it's possible. But I think that's where we're at. I think we can safely say it's a matter of when in that schedule, not if he'll make it that week. Is where things stand right now. The question I have, Ryan, is
Yep.
I think this next week for him, week plus, depending on when he comes, is going to be the make or break period for Notre Dame in his
100%.
recruitment.
100%.
You've got several days to kind of continue closing that gap, getting him in a frame of mind where you can potentially win him over when he gets on campus. If you can't, it's like this, just plain and simple. If you aren't his leader by the time he leaves campus next week, you're not going to get him. You have to at least pull even with everybody else. Then you can maybe pull ahead afterwards, but you're not going to be behind Ohio State, A&M, and Baylor coming in,
Yep.
which I think is somewhat safe to say because there's just the unknown. He's been to those places. He hasn't been to Notre Dame. So I don't care how much he likes Notre Dame. You can't say he's, in this particular instance, other kids it's different, but you can't say that they're definitely, there's leader. I've had people say if he visits, they're going to get him. Maybe.
Right.
But I think there's a closing that has to happen because I do think going in, at least two of those schools are, I wouldn't say they lead Notre Dame, but he's more comfortable with them. Is that a fair way to say it, Ryan?
No, it's very fair.
So
Yeah.
coming out of that visit, you have to have pulled ahead. So it doesn't just happen though during the visit. It's going to be all leading up to it. And you could tell from his comments, it's Tommy Rees, it's Marcus Freeman, it's Chad Bowden, it's the whole staff is working, and the recruits, the Notre Dame commits are working hard with him. There's no doubt about it.
I'm going to use a baseball analogy real quick, right? So this one is in the eighth inning. You're tied up. You have the runner at third, 2 outs. You're trying to get that single in to go up by 1 run going into the ninth so that you can close the game out, right? This is where you are. This isn't necessarily the last chance, but this is a chance to pull ahead, right? Because there's always going to be ground that could be made up by other teams. If he visits another school, who knows what's going to happen after the Notre Dame visit? But you have to go into the ninth inning feeling good about your chances because there's going to be other opportunities over the phone, continuing to build those relationships. But this is big because this is the first time he'll be in Notre Dame, first time he'll see these coaches in person. So they need to knock it out of the park, quite literally. So, little baseball analogy for you, but I think it's really important to Brian's point. You need to hit away here, right? Like you need
Right.
to your best foot forward. You need to put everything out there. Coach Rees and the rest of this staff, Coach Freeman, if this is really the player that they want, Austin Novosad, you need to come out of this visit feeling like you are at least in the conversation, right? Like you need to be able to close the game out in the ninth.
Yeah. And it would be big. I mean, you saw him get a big rankings bump recently. I think 247 put him in the top 100. And then I don't remember where he was ranked before. I know he wasn't in their top 247. I'm pretty sure of that. And then On Three put him inside the top 200. And then Rivals has him, I think, like around like 136, if I remember correctly, Ryan. I think Rivals has him there.
Yeah, it's
I'm
somewhere
actually
around there.
pulling up his rankings now, and I don't think ESPN has really updated him since the rank. Yeah, he's still a 3-star on ESPN, but yeah, he's 136 on Rivals, 89 on 247 Sports, and 188 on Three. You know, a week ago he's not ranked that high by all of them. He's right.
Ascending
He's
player.
definitely an ascending player.
Yep.
So from a recruiting ranking standpoint, he'd be a big pickup. But Notre Dame isn't looking at Austin Novosad because they care about the recruiting rankings. They think this kid can play, and yeah, the Texas aspect helps, but they think he can play, and I think that's kind of where it is. So you've got to play this one out and see how it feels, how it goes, and then depending on how it goes, there's other options on the board, which we've talked about that Notre Dame likes a lot as well. It's just this one had to move a little quicker because
Sure.
of how everything went. So